Today on Monkey Life, young Chimp Ben moves across the park to join the Bachelors.
Hey, good boy. He's a good boy. Yeah.
But will old friend Seamus remember him?
He's a good boy. Yeah, there's a lot of cuddling and kissing going on down here.
And the Capuchin girls are on a high. This is Monkey World in Dorset. Tucked away deep in the English countryside, it's the largest sanctuary for monkeys and apes on the planet. And this is Dr. Alison Cronin, the primate's best friend. Alison and her team spend their lives rescuing...
We get on well.
and rehabilitating primates from all over the world.
Go on, sort him out. He's your baby, not mine.
They currently look after more than 240 monkeys and apes from 15 different species. Rescuing chimps and other primates is only part of the story for Alison, animal director Jeremy, and the team. The monkeys and apes need to be socialised into groups and to learn the complicated political rules followed by primates in the wild.
Family groups take generations to evolve. So to just make them with random individuals that you've rescued in one generation it's not impossible, but you're going to get people who are just not going to fit in. And even when you've got that, if you just think of any family that you know, there's grief, there's problems, there's civil war. Some are better than others, but one thing that they've got is there's always some issues going on.
The care staff can only provide a certain level of help. The rest has to be learned from their own species. But 6-year-old Ben has never known life in the wild. He was born at the park, rejected by his mother, and only recently graduated from the sanctuary's nursery. Since then, Alison and Jeremy have been exploring options for a new home for the youngster.
Because of what we do here, we have 4 different groups of chimpanzees. So if you don't fit into one group, we will find you a home in another group. So actually, the whole process with Ben is exactly what we do at Monkey World.
But the first attempt to find Ben a settled place with adult chimps didn't work out. After a series of introductions to the group led by Hananya, it was obvious Ben was never going to be accepted by the alpha male. Hananya was suspicious of the newcomer, and terrified Ben wasn't experienced enough to know how to handle the situation. Jeremy helped bring Ben up with chimp foster mum Sally. Now he and the team must decide Ben's future.
I think, yeah, we pushed it as far as it's reasonable to push it, I think. And, you know, and then it didn't work, so we move on. Ben now is going to go and live with the Bachelors. He's got a couple of friends down there already with Seamus and Turkish Çarli, and he'll be sure he'll have a better life down there.
To help Ben settle for the coming move, Jeremy decides to spend some quality time with him.
At the moment, any time you alter his routine, he's convinced that Hananya is going to be the next part of the procedures. So on their normal morning release operation, I've started just saying hello to Ben. This is good. This is all good. To make him realise that, you know, nothing bad's going to happen. You know, we can do something different without there being big, horrible Hananya as a result. He wants as many friends as he can get, and, you know, I can be one of them. And that might, as I say, might make the whole transition from here to the pavilions more comfortable.
Ben's going to need friends, as all introductions to new groups can be tricky. Today, he's moving across the park to see if he can find a home with the noisy, gregarious, and all-male bachelor group, led by alpha male Butch. If he can't, then Alison could start running out of options.
we had thought that a nice option for Ben would be to grow up in a mixed group. However, I could really make the argument that life in a mixed group with all of the ladies and the politics that come along with that isn't easy either. So really, you know, nobody should hate Hananya over this. Hananya's doing what comes natural to him in his own little immature mental way. And, you know, it's just a case of Ben isn't destined to be in this group. But really, I expect Ben's transition into the Bachelor group to be much easier than Hananya, who just shouted goodbye. So I think that's it. And that's Ben and Hananya saying their goodbyes, and I think we should get on with it now. So.
To move Ben to the Bachelors, the team need to persuade him to get into a travelling crate. The alternative is to give him an anaesthetic, something they're always reluctant to do.
Here you go, Betty boy.
It's a good boy.
What you doing?
That's a very good boy. Just give him a few minutes to
just
sit and hang out. Okay.
No mad rush. No mad rush.
Good boy.
Hello.
What's this? And we'll give you a shout once he's ready. Yeah, there you go.
Here you go.
Well done.
Ben's been given a light sedative, so he's calm but still curious.
That's quite good.
And with Jeremy at the wheel and Keeper Kate along for the ride to look after him, he heads off to his new home. The majority of the primates rescued by Monkey World wouldn't survive in the wild because they were stolen from their mothers at a very young age. The park not only gives them a safe environment, but encourages the animals to live in the same social groups and structures they would in their native homes. Some adapt relatively easily, but for others, the process can take a little longer.
So when we originally rescued the Chilean capuchins, we formed 3 groups, 2 females and 1 male. Over the course of about a year, through watching them progress within their social groups, we could see that there were a considerable number of animals that weren't socially ready for such large groups, and they were having quite a hard time in the hierarchy system. We were unsure whether it was due to their low-ranking positions, whether they were too nervous to move around because of all the other animals, or was it because of their actual mental block due to the time they spent in the lab crates.
10 of the more challenged capuchins, some with physical problems, were moved into a separate group where the Primate Care Staff could give them extra attention. It wasn't long before a clear pattern started to emerge.
With all the keepers spending an awful lot of time observing these capuchin monkeys, we realised that many of them are actual mesh habituated, so they actually only climb on mesh. This is due to the time that they spent in the labs. The crates are a mesh floor to ceiling, so all they did was circle on mesh. So we're actually hoping to use this need for mesh to actually help them start climbing. So we started putting in mesh ramps to see if we could actually get these girls off the ground and start climbing. And a couple of weeks ago, we came up with an idea of actually building a portable mesh climbing system so we could put treats on top, which will help these animals climb up. So Dave, one of the keepers here, spent a few days making it. Very nice job as well too. And today we put it in the enclosure.
The team are using everything from nuts to rice pudding to tempt the ground dwellers to climb.
Do you think if we put some down the ramp as well, that might...
Yeah. It looks bad, but they seem to really enjoy it. So.
Yeah, they like it, so that's the main thing. Hopefully it will encourage them to climb.
And they've already got Lilia's attention. Wild capuchin monkeys climb high to avoid predators. But for one of the capuchin groups at the park, life is more down to earth. To encourage them to leave the ground, the team have built a portable mesh ramp and covered it with tempting, tasty treats. Jill is the first to investigate, and Carer Hannah is delighted.
That's your first badge to becoming a monkey. Bronze medal. Babs, that's cheating. Oh, you cheat! And to put the food in the middle, won't we?
Jenny has a tentative attempt halfway up the ramp.
Oh, Cecilia's up. Oh, look. That's new. This is new. Cecilia's never gone this high before. This is exactly what we were hoping for, see? That's the highest I've ever seen Cecilia climb. Brilliant. When she gets all the way up there, there's another ramp that she could have a go on. So she could potentially make it to the second platform now, have some more tea, and then she's on her way. We've had about 7 to 8 girls that all they do is pace on the floor. So we were hoping that this structure would do exactly what it's doing for Cecilia, just open her mind to another level, basically. It seems once it clicks in their head, that's it then, they're climbing. There she is. Oh my God.
Good when it works, isn't it?
The structure is easy to move, so Hannah tries it outside, in the hope it will encourage the rest of the group to follow in Cecilia's footsteps.
Our main goal is to get them back into social groups and to get them back performing natural behaviours. And obviously for a monkey, that involves climbing. So we want to start getting these girls off the floor, climbing on all the structures, albeit with mesh. And then later on, we're hoping to develop their mesh climbing skills onto maybe some wooden structures. So one day we really hope that these animals will make the most of all our climbing structures and we'll be able to climb over the ropes and the hoses and the cargo nets and all the wooden frames we have here.
She might not have to wait too long. While the capuchins scale new heights, young Chimp Ben is on his way across the park to join a new group. He didn't fit in with a mixed family, so he's about to join the all-male troupe known as the Bachelors. In the wild, it's not unnatural for male chimps to band together to protect their territory. And the females sometimes separate off when food is scarce. The park's bachelors don't have females or territory to compete for. So they can relax and stick to what they know best, having fun. But even without the ladies to fight over, newcomer Ben will have to learn how this all-male group operates. Like all chimp groups, the dominant male often makes close alliances with 2 or 3 others who will back him up. Butch is the leader of the Bachelors. He's known for brawn, not brain, and his top henchmen are Buxom and his half-brother Jester. These 2 bruisers wouldn't look out of place in any gangster movie. Ben will need to grasp the politics quickly if he's going to fit in. The Bachelors are generally quite a gregarious lot. Like all male chimps, they show bonds by grooming and rough-and-tumble play. But Ben will still need some allies of his own in the first few weeks while he finds his feet. Luckily, a couple of his old friends from nursery days are in the Bachelor group. The first is Seamus, who always enjoyed a bit of rough and tumble. According to Keeper Hannah, he hasn't changed a bit.
Sometimes he doesn't know whether he wants to be the tough guy or next minute he turns around and wants to be the baby again. So he's in that mixed up teenager stage at the moment, we'll say, but yeah, he's still quite a lovable little chap most of the time. Ben will definitely remember Seamus. I'm sure Seamus will remember Ben, so hopefully, yeah, there'll be two buddies back together again and hopefully spend lots of time playing and looking after each other.
And there's another potential pal Ben can count on, 16-year-old Charlie, who was rescued from Turkey, where he was used in the entertainment industry.
Charlie is a low ranker in the Bachelor group, but he's quite a happy-go-lucky kind of chap. He was in the nursery group with Ben. They were quite good buddies whilst they were over there, so hopefully he'll remember Ben. It'll help Ben to settle in, having someone that he knows in the group, because obviously the big guys are all a bit older and not as playful as the younger boys. So it'd be nice for Charlie as well to have Ben as a new playmate.
Chimps do remember previous friendships, and with two such playful allies waiting for him, it looks like Ben could have a lot of fun with the Bachelors.
Having Seamus and Charlie with him, it hopefully will give him a lot more confidence in meeting the big guys, and he won't think that they're all Hananyas.
Should we shift this monkey?
Ben's arrived, and the team prepare to move him into one of the bedrooms at the pavilions. Within seconds, the Bachelor group knows something's up. And for Ben, who struggled to find a home, it's a much happier arrival this time. His old nursery playmate, Turkish Çarli, jumps up and down in delighted and instant recognition. Ben calls back, and Seamus, the former nursery pal who he grew up with, reaches out in friendship. It's too risky to let Ben straight into the outdoor enclosure with the whole Bachelor group, so the staff have prepared one of the indoor bedrooms for him.
He's a good boy. He's a good boy. Yeah. I don't know. Are you ready? All safe? Here we go. Okay. That sounded hopeful. Did you get in there all right? Is this okay? I know, I love you lots. Now the fun starts.
Yeah.
He's obviously nervous. Why wouldn't he be? But he's out of the box. He's in his bedroom. Give him a little while to settle down, and then we'll consider the next step. At least he knows two people down here, so Seamus and Charlie ought to be reasonably easy, and then at least get him as people he knows. We did give him a light sedative to make it nicer for him to move, so really I want to make sure that's worn off before we start thinking about introductions or anything. Hello? But now that he's settled down, he might well just crash and... There's no mad rush.
But Ben stays lively and interested, so the team decide to let Seamus join him indoors.
He's a good boy. Hello, Shameless. Who's that? Is that Benny boy? He's a good boy. That's nice. Is that it? Yeah. Hello, Alison. Yeah, there's a lot of cuddling and kissing going on down here. And Ben's giving more than Seamus, although they're both right up for it.
I thought that might be the case. That's fantastic.
It's just so nice that Ben isn't going to have to spend the night on his own, and he's got somebody who he clearly knows. I mean, we've got no doubt that there's recollection there that Seamus is an old mate. I mean, obviously, Ben's got a long way to go, but with this sort of friendship, he's going to help. He's going to help no end. We'll see how it goes, though.
Next time on Monkey Life, Ben comes face to face with the Bachelor's big boys.
Obviously, anything can happen. Well, either I like you or I don't like you, and if I don't like you, I'll jump on you and beat you up, and if I do like you, we'll hang out together.
And
They've been bounced from pillar to post, and we're simply being moved around from A to B in a birdcage.
a new species arrives at the park. Today on Monkey Life, a critically endangered species arrives at the park.
They've been bounced from pillar to post, and we're simply being moved around from A to B in a birdcage.
Chimp Ben meets Bachelor Big Boss Butch.
Obviously, anything can happen. Well, either I like you or I don't like you, and if I don't like you, I'll jump on you and beat you up, and if I do like you, we'll hang out together.
And on me head, son, Dad-to-be Gordon hasn't got the hang of football, but is loving the idea of fatherhood. This is Monkey World in Dorset. Tucked away deep in the English countryside, it's the largest sanctuary for monkeys and apes on the planet. And this is Dr. Alison Cronin, the primate's best friend. Alison and her team spend their lives rescuing...
What about you? Oh, too skinny.
...and rehabilitating primates from all over the world.
That's good.
They currently look after more than 240 monkeys and apes from 15 different species. But that number's about to increase. Alison and the team often rescue pet monkeys from poor conditions, following calls from concerned members of the public. They also work with police and animal welfare groups. And they carry out their own undercover investigations.
This is actually an open-air attachment to the outside of the whole pet shop. Now, it's actually reasonably warm in here right now during the daytime, but at nighttime this will be cold, and there's no heat in here.
Today, 2 new monkeys have arrived at the park, following a combined investigation by police and the RSPCA. They were discovered by officers investigating a man in Kent suspected of puppy farming.
So what are they being fed?
Mealworms.
Yeah.
Kent police gave me a call and said they needed some help urgently, and could we take hold of and care for a pair of cotton-top tamarins.
It was an intriguing prospect for the park. Monkey World has never been asked to look after cotton tops before.
I had actually been speaking to the police officers involved with the case a couple of weeks ago, and Kent police intended on confiscating a pair of tamarins and having us assist them. And then all of a sudden, this week, I got a phone call from the police saying, ooh, something else has come undone, we were raiding puppy farms with RSPCA and we found a pair of cotton-top tamarins and we think they might be the same pair. Can we bring them to you?
He's quite near the door. He's in the back.
Cotton-top tamarins come from Colombia, but they are now thought to be more in captivity than living wild in their native home. There may be as few as 1,000 of these critically endangered primates still left in the wild. Their numbers have dwindled due to mass deforestation and the illegal pet trade.
Putting a waxworm in the box just to see if he'll go in by himself, but he seems quite worked up.
The cotton tops have been put in a temporary bedroom, but now Toby and Colin from the Primate Care team need to catch them for a health check.
There you go.
They seem nervous, and no one is sure how much human contact they've had in the past.
They were kept just in a bird cage, basically, a small parrot cage with a nest box inside. So had no outside enclosure, no access to natural sunlight, and were simply being moved around from A to B in a bird cage.
I think it's quicker just to net him, less stressful.
Lands on my head,
I think Uncas and Alice, which they've been christened after Last of the Mohicans, doing really well here. But, you know, I'd like to try and find out more about their past and where they've come from.
But as the pair don't come with a full history, a health check could provide some answers.
Perfect. All right, okay.
There, if that slide isn't locked.
Yeah, that's all right. Good.
Vet Mike Nathan is in charge of proceedings. Alice is first.
This is very Heath Robinson.
Mike puts the crate in a plastic bag and fills it with gas, a less intrusive anaesthetic procedure for small primates.
This is giving us an opportunity to examine her, weigh her, do some basic tests, check her microchip, and then it's all done in one go rather than upsetting her each time we need to do anything with her. That's worked nicely.
She's starting to wriggle.
Yeah, okay.
Good.
A careful examination of Alice is very revealing.
Right, she's got no obvious incisors. Her canines are worn, so I would say it's old. It'll be an interesting comparison to see what Uncas is like.
So the chap that was offering her for sale was selling this pair as a 5-year-old breeding pair. So based upon her dentition, you would say that that was alive.
I suspect she's older than that. Right, the first
It just
thing
goes to show the pet trade. It's like the Wild West out there. People are able to make up whatever they want to about these animals.
Cotton-top tamarins have a life expectancy of up to, say, 15 years, approximately. And this female, I suspect, is 15 or even older. This is a grandma cotton-top.
Right, we'll do the same thing with Uncas.
No.
No, there's no, yeah, I'm not, yeah.
While the cotton tops are being examined, keeper Toby gives their temporary home a clean-out.
At the moment, we have to clean in and around them, so we're just taking the opportunity while they're not in the enclosure to just give it a very, very quick sweep out, and then we'll put their food and water back in because we had to take it away, obviously to prepare them for being gassed down.
Back at the hospital, Mike is examining Uncas, the male cotton top. His teeth show he could well be 5 years old, but he has another dental issue.
Right, that canine, the lower one here, is definitely snapped off. If it gives him a problem, we can deal with it. I'm quite happy with his condition, and they can go back singing away.
Later, Uncas and Alice the cotton tops are on the move. But what happens when they meet the park's marmosets? The cotton tops and marmosets aren't the only primates in the park having to adapt to a new lifestyle. Young Chimp Ben is halfway through his graduation from the nursery to an adult group. He's joining the Bachelors, and so far, his meetings with middle and lower ranking members have gone well. However, later today, he's going to meet Butch, the Bachelor's alpha male. But at the moment, Butch and the boys have got other things on their minds. They've got visitors in their enclosure. In the wild, chimpanzees have a mainly vegetarian diet, but if the opportunity arises, they will eat meat. Organised groups of chimps have been seen hunting, catching and eating colobus monkeys, as well as small antelope and wild pigs. At the park, the chimps enjoy a varied diet of fruit and vegetables, and there's always enough to go round. So much so that occasionally uninvited guests turn up. The bachelor chimps may look relaxed, but they don't miss much. And they're always curious. Mojo thinks he's got them cornered. But these rabbits have played this game before. Gypsy has a look too. But gives up, leaving a brave bunny free to sneak out in search of leftovers. But if he's not careful, he could end up on the menu. This time, it's alpha male Butch who's interested. Leader of the Bachelors, Butch, likes to know what's happening on his patch. But these two have worked out if you keep a low profile and stick to the long grass, there is such a thing as a free lunch. There are more than 240 primates living in the 65-acre park that makes up Monkey World, and it's important to Alison and the team that they all find a group they can coexist with. The last 18 months have been tough on young Chimp Ben. Having outgrown the nursery, the park's efforts to introduce him to Hananya's family group didn't work out. Over the last few weeks, the team have been attempting to slowly integrate him into the Bachelors. This gradual introduction process is important and carefully planned. It means Ben won't feel insecure and vulnerable with the group's higher rankers. His old nursery pals Seamus and Turkish Çarli were delighted to be reunited. And since then, he's also palled up with Mojo and Sammy. But it's another big day for Ben. He's about to meet Butch, the Bachelor's alpha male.
It's important to get Butch in because he's still the main man. Obviously anything can happen, but either I like you or I don't like you, and if I don't like you, I'll jump on you and beat you up, and if I do like you, we'll hang out together, and that's, or if I'm indifferent, then we won't do nothing. We're all very well aware of what chimpanzees can do, and yes, I mean, it can be terminal.
Butch and some of the Bachelors are in their outdoor enclosure. Ben's let out and is greeted by Mojo. He and Sammy stick by Ben to provide close support. Butch is the second alpha male Ben has met, and as things didn't go too well with Hananya, it's understandable he's a little wary.
Put Mojo in because Mojo will be very protective, and Mojo's a big lad, he's a good ally. You know, if you've got an ally, make it a good ally, and that might protect him.
Butch has noticed the newcomer, but a cautious Ben decides to keep out of his way. Butch sits it out to see how things develop, and eventually Ben plucks up the courage to approach, with Mojo as close support. But once close to the big alpha male, loses his nerve and heads off. Jeremy's satisfied the introduction is going well so far, but to make sure it stays that way, more of the other chimps are let outside.
I'm going to let Jimmy out into it.
The newly released chimps prove a distraction for Butch, who sets off to show everyone just who's boss. This time, Ben's tactics have paid off. He's kept out of the way and kept his allies close.
I think Ben's a very ambitious boy. It'd be very interesting to see what Ben's like in 4 or 5 years. But he's also bright, so he knows what buttons to press or not, and he knows how to get out of it if it goes bad. That's what I'm seeing, and that isn't a guarantee that he's not going to get hurt or anything, but it's going to help him. It's going to reduce the odds.
All the primate species across the park are constantly learning to adapt to new situations. In Gordon's orangutan group, little Kai is finding that life with Mum is changing. He's now 4 years old, and although he doesn't know it, he'll soon have a little half-brother or sister. Mum Xiao Kuai is heavily pregnant. She's happy to still have him around, but is also finding the need for a little me time. Her baby bump is certainly showing, but she still needs to keep active. And, as orangutans can be a bit sedentary, Keeper Penny has come up with a plan to stimulate the whole group.
We're actually going to put some balls in, and we're hoping that Gordon's group will actually see that they're balls, they can be played with and not eat them. Chances are they're probably going to pop them within 5 seconds, but you never know until you try, so quite excited, looking forward to seeing what they're going to do. This is an enrichment that doesn't involve food, so rather than involving food, whether it be nice stuff, savoury stuff, it's something for them to play with, but they're not going to actually put any weight on and hopefully burn a few pounds as well.
But Xiao Kuai is convinced the balls contain a tasty tidbit, and despite her expanding waistline, is determined to find out. Xiaolan takes no time removing the outer layer, peeling it just like an orange. And, after a lacklustre attempt at playing ball, is disappointed to find there's nothing inside. Xiao Kuai's made the same discovery, so isn't too bothered when Gordon decides 2 footballs are more fun, even if they are punctured. Kai agrees they make a great toy. When his baby brother or sister arrives, he's going to need to become a bit more independent. So it's a good thing he's got Dad-to-be Gordon as a role model, even if he's not quite taking the mature approach to fatherhood just yet. Earlier, Alice and Uncas, the Colombian cotton-top tamarins, were passed fit by Mike the vet. But they're a totally new species for the park, which left Alison and the team with a problem: where to house them. Luckily, Alison has a plan.
The best thing to do is to try and mix them with our bachelor group of common marmosets. There's plenty of space, it's just whether or not the common marmosets will accept the cotton tops and vice versa.
There's only one way to find out. The primate care team have crated up Alice and Uncas and are about to release them in the marmoset's bedroom.
Marmosets and tamarins have a similar social setup. They pair bond for life, and then the females give birth to generally twins, and after they've had one set of offspring, those youngsters will help look after any future siblings. The two species wouldn't encounter each other in the wild because cotton tops only come from Colombia and common marmosets only come from Brazil.
Open it.
The team have no idea how the two species will react to each other, so stand by just in case.
Hopefully they're just such vastly different things that assuming the cotton tops don't launch an assault, that it will be just a nothing.
Well, they've got to look pretty intimidating to the marmosets.
Yeah, I wouldn't mess with that. They sort of worry me a bit just as is. I mean, they just look scary. So I think the female is actually sort of threatening and being violent, either to her own reflection in the glass, which, I mean, just goes to show, I mean, how aggressive the cotton tops can be. Well, I mean, what do you think? I think she's threatening her reflection.
Yeah, it seems to be whenever she's by the window.
We'll have to watch out and make sure that that sort of aggression towards another perceived cotton top doesn't turn into a threat against the common marmosets.
But it's the marmosets who seem keen to take on the Mohican-haired cotton tops.
That's Marcel's tactic: hide under the log and pull someone's tail.
He deserves something for that.
Marcel
Had
again.
a sneaky bite. Yep, at her tail. Yeah, thump him. She's gonna thump you.
He's pretty much the lowest ranking of the four boys, Marcel, so whether he feels he's got something to prove a bit.
But
I'll say no one else is backing him up.
yeah, I mean, I'm not too bothered if it is just, hopefully he'll get bored of it. That was quite nice. She just forcefully pushed along and she didn't do anything, but she definitely pushed him out of the way.
The initial meeting between the two species has gone well, but Alison feels the future is still unpredictable.
Even though these two have come to us as a pair, they've been bounced from pillar to post, and I don't know how many previous owners they've had or what they've even been subjected to. So for us, it's going to be a case of monitoring their behavior closely and seeing just how crazy and how abused they have been.
Next time on Monkey Life. Reluctant lemur Kaiyah hides from her new family. And orangutan foster mum Ame tries an unusual way of avoiding hers. Today on Monkey Life. The last of the Bachelors for Ben, but will Buxom let him join the gang?
You don't want the group to be too harmonious because that's boring.
A reluctant lemur refuses to meet her new troop.
Kaiyah, you coming outside?
And an orangutan foster mum decides she's had enough of hers. This is Monkey World in Dorset. Tucked away deep in the English countryside, it's the largest sanctuary for monkeys and apes on the planet. And this is Dr. Alison Cronin, the primate's best friend. Alison and her team spend their lives rescuing...
Okay, quick, because the other one's back against the wall.
...and rehabilitating primates from all over the world.
Good boy.
They currently look after more than 240 monkeys and apes from 16 different species. Young Chimp Ben's been on a bit of a journey since he graduated from the park's nursery. He couldn't find his place in Hananya's family group. But recently, the team's attempts to slowly integrate him into the Bachelors have been going well. Jeremy thinks he's made the right choice.
If you want to have a good time, if you want to have a good, consistent time, go and hang about with people of your own gender. Particularly with blokes, because they are what they are. What you see is what you get. If you annoy me, I'll smack you in the mouth. If you don't, we'll be okay. And, you know, we can hang out and, you know, and have some fun. And these guys have a lot of fun. And, you know, it's a sort of treating the bachelor group as a punishment, if you like, is a bit unfair, because actually it's a good place to be.
Ben's settled in well. He's coped with meeting leader Butch and his often quarrelsome Lieutenant Jester. Today, he's meeting the last of the group, Buxom, Jester's half-brother, and another right-hand man to Butch.
The people we always do last on the Bachelor introductions are Buxom and Jester. They're actually the ones that were rescued from Windsor Safari Park, and they had more hooligan tendencies than any ones that we've rescued from any other beach photographers, laboratories, or anything else. But having said that, in the years that they've been here, a lot of the spiteful aspects of them are not nearly so bad. But anyway, we always save Buxom and Jester to last. And Jester went in 2 or 3 days ago and he's fine. And today Buxom goes in and is sorted.
Ben's having a relaxing morning and the rest of the group are chilling out. Buxom's been kept separate from his pals, but now he's allowed to rejoin them. He's out like a bullet. Butch is pleased to see him. And the other bachelors greet him noisily. Wary Ben steers clear to avoid confrontation. And when Butch charges forward with Buxom in tow, Ben beats a hasty retreat. He heads straight to new best pal Sammy for reassurance, and within seconds, the whole group settled down again.
He's a very clever boy. Watching him so far, he's done so well. He keeps right out of trouble, and he doesn't miss a trick. So, yeah, we just cross your fingers. But you don't want the group to be too harmonious, because that's boring. You've got to have a bit of politics going on to make life interesting.
Ben's not the only one in the park graduating to a new group. Kaiyah, the young lemur, is on the move today too. Alison brought her back to the park from Belfast after she was contacted by a family who discovered lemurs don't make suitable pets. Kaiyah has been living with older dominant female Fennel, but now they're off to the lemur enclosure at Malagasy so Kaiyah can meet the park's 8 male lemurs. No one's quite sure what she'll make of them. Sandra and Donna have come to collect the 2 girls from the temporary bedrooms for the short journey across the park. Visitors to the park are often intrigued by the presence of the lemurs. They look so different to the other rescued monkeys and apes, but in fact, they're also primates.
guys are not actually monkeys or apes. They're called prosimians, which basically they're the forerunners, evolutionary-wise, to all of the monkeys and apes. Lemurs come from Madagascar only, and it's separated off from the rest of Africa. So what's believed to have happened is that early primates, in terms of evolution, floated across to Madagascar and then started evolving into all of the niches on Madagascar in the absence of any other primates or competition. So lemurs are very unique in the sense that they've retained many of the primitive features of primates, and they're sort of a transition or a forerunner, if you will, to all of the other monkeys and apes that evolved after them. And you can see it in their basic sort of setup. They've got a long muzzle that's covered in fur and a very wet nose, like a dog or a cat. And that gives you a clue to what's the most important aspect of a lemur's life, and that would be scent. You can see with the lemurs, and the shape of their face, their eyes are slightly a bit more offset, which is why they have this big long muzzle with all of the sinuses. And then in addition to that, when you watch the lemurs, you can see they have scent glands on their wrists and around their anus. So really these guys are geared up to view the world in a very different and more primitive way than the rest of the monkeys and apes, and that follows through into their behavior and ecology.
Young ringtail Kaiyah's not met any of the other lemurs yet, apart from Fennel. But she's about to join the gang at the 1-acre, tree-filled enclosure at Malagasy. Normally, the park's lemurs roam around at will, enjoying the trees, rope ladders and swings. But today, the routine's a little bit different.
We're keeping everything contained in what we call their overnight pen. They'll be in here for a few days yet. We've still got to double-check the perimeter of the enclosure anyway to make sure it's Kaiyah-proof, Kaiyah-friendly. Obviously, having all the boys in the overnight pen already, we've actually got a bit of control over the situation. If we did the introduction in the outside enclosure, we've got no control really because they can disappear up trees and all over the place.
Kaiyah will be given plenty of time to meet the male lemurs in the pen and get used to seeing open spaces for the first time. Eventually, she'll have the chance to experience the outdoors, a bit like life in the wild. Kaiyah and Fennel go into their overnight wooden pens where they can access the outside when they're ready. It's no big deal for Fennel, but it gives Kaiyah some added security.
We've given them outside access, and Fennel obviously knows the enclosure, so she's come straight out. And hopefully with a bit of encouragement, Kaiyah will brave the outdoors and decide to come and have a mooch around as well.
But at the moment, it's not quite going to plan.
Kaiyah, come on!
While the boys patrol, Kaiyah stays put.
Kaiyah, you coming outside?
Kaiyah. Doesn't look like she's going to be out anytime soon. She sort of seems quite settled at the back of the enclosure at the moment.
Eventually, Kaiyah has a tentative look outside.
There she is, scared them all.
And then gets up the courage to venture out of the shed.
Good girl.
It's been a good start for young Kaiyah, and the team are pleased with her progress.
She has been poking her head out, but now she's decided to come out fully. She still is a little bit wary, but hopefully next time she will spend a bit more time outside and stay there a bit longer. But it's all going very well at the moment. She's come outside, so that's exactly what we wanted.
Over the weekend, something's changed down at the lemur enclosure at Malagasy. All the male ringtails have been released back into the outside enclosure. But young female Kaiyah, who had just joined the group, isn't with them. The primate care team have taken her back to the temporary bedrooms across the park after spotting something was wrong.
She had a deep injury to her groin area, and it had basically one of her veins had been completely severed, so that's where she was losing some blood from. And I had to put 3 layers of sutures in because it was such a deep wound. So it took about an hour to do the surgery. It was quite a big job.
But the keepers aren't sure exactly what happened.
The problem with ringtails is they have razor-sharp teeth, and one bite causes quite a nasty injury, and it's also quick. Before this happened, she was doing fine with some individuals, and Sirius had spent the whole day that day sat in with her. George spends a lot of time sitting with her as well, and Renton, so she seems to be doing well within the group. It's just whether this was an isolated incident or just an accident where she got caught in the middle of something.
It's impossible for the team to know who was responsible for the injury, and it probably wasn't deliberate. But to help Kaiyah recuperate, Toby is collecting fennel to keep her company.
Hey, fennel. Gonna do it.
So, only days after leaving the temporary bedrooms to join the boys, the girls are back.
There you go.
And it means a 2-week recovery period for Kaiyah.
She's doing really well, but we do need her to take it easy, ideally for a couple of weeks, so she doesn't tear the muscle at all. So, not too much jumping, Kaiyah.
New arrivals at the park can often take a while to settle in, and the 2 most recent are no exception. They're an unusual pair of newcomers, cotton-top tamarins, the first the team have ever been asked to look after. Uncas and Alice were rescued by the RSPCA, and because they were the first cotton-tops at Monkey World and there was no established group for them to join, the team introduced them to the common marmosets, another small monkey species from South America.
They're pretty intimidating characters, the cotton tops, visually, vocally, and in terms of their attitude, they're a bit stroppy too. So the common marmosets better mind their P's and Q's, I think.
But it wasn't a match made in heaven.
Gradually, as time progressed, we found that actually they didn't really like each other's company. The marmosets didn't like them there. And even if they weren't together, being in rooms next to each other still wasn't a good idea. And so now the tamarins are just living together as a pair. And they just seem a lot happier over here. They're away from everybody else on their own. It seems to be what they want.
Their new living environment is a big leap from the conditions they were found in.
Where Alice and Uncas came from, where they was kept as pets, as far as we're aware, they only had a small bird cage which they could live in, and that's it. Whereas here they've got quite a big inside enclosure, which is actually split into 2, which means that they can get away from each other if they do feel stressed or if they just don't want to be around each other. And also they've got a nice outside enclosure as well. It's got lots of different plants in it which encourage different insects as well, which is important for their protein, so they hunt them.
They're also being given a balanced diet, which contains all the protein and nutrients they need.
Today they've got melon, cooked sweet potato, peas, some apple and some cooked mince.
The extra special care is paying off for the cotton tops.
They seem to be a lot healthier than they were when they first arrived at the park. Particularly Alice, her hair was quite greasy. It wasn't really matted, but you can just tell that she wasn't groomed regularly. Whereas now, if you look at her, her hair's in really good condition. It's a lot more fluffy. Uncas is a lot more confident, and he's definitely the dominant one of the 2. Sometimes he will sort of push Alice around a little bit, but she just gives a little scream and he'll go away again. But they do seem very relaxed now, and they seem really happy in the enclosure that we've provided for them.
Over the last few months, the park's had the builders in. They've been working on a new state-of-the-art home for the orangutan nursery group. And like most building work, it hasn't gone entirely to plan. The enormous, specially made, extra thick orangutan-proof glass for the front viewing windows met with disaster. And it's taken weeks for new glass to arrive from Germany. But at long last, it's turned up and been fitted without a hitch. The interior windows, which need to be installed between the playroom and the bedrooms, have also arrived and are being put in place. Very carefully. Once all the glass is secured and the internal fixtures are done, it won't be long before the youngsters, Linga, Dinda, Xiaoning and Jolie, and foster mum Armee can move in. In the meantime, keepers Penny and Rita are organising some enrichment for them. In the wild, orangs are confident around water. They get plenty of liquid from their native diet of forest fruits and leaves, but they will also drink from natural basins. At the current nursery, the youngsters sip from water drinkers secured to the mesh, but they don't have their own pond or pool. To keep life interesting, the care team are filling water buckets and have added a few extra touches for fun, including pine cones, fruit, and some bubbles. The youngsters are led out by foster mum Armee. She was rescued in Taiwan after being smuggled from Borneo for the illegal pet trade. She has proved to be an excellent adoptive mother. But this morning, the youngsters seem more interested in their breakfast than the colourful water buckets. Jolie is the first to investigate, but isn't convinced and spills the water. But clever Armee's got a plan for the empty bucket. Until, that is, Jolie decides she wants it back for herself and drinks Armee's siphoned off water. With Armee's own bucket empty, it isn't long before she works out where to go for a refill. The keepers dutifully oblige. Linga's not bothered about the contents, preferring to play with the brightly coloured container. And Xiaoning is only interested in her broccoli breakfast. It seems Armee is the one who's got the most out of the experience. But with the young ones barely showing any interest, getting away from it all seems the perfect option. The primate care team think they've solved a mystery over at the Gibbon house. Golden-cheeked Peanut had a baby recently, but because the infant was so small and clung so securely to mum, no one could tell if it was a boy or a girl. The infant is now more than a month old.
We are 99.something% sure it's a female, which is really good news. We've had a few good looks at it, and yes, we're prepared to put money on it now that it's a female. To begin with, we kept a very close observation on it to see that it was suckling, which it is doing. It's starting to look a bit more alert now, just occasionally moving his or her head around a little bit, starting to take notice of things. We're starting to see a bit more movement in the fingers and toes now, and generally doing very well indeed.
The new female golden-cheeked Gibbon also has more fur than when she was born, and has been welcomed into the family by Dad, Peng Yo, and brother Tien. Mum Peanut is coping well.
She's a bit more relaxed with this one. With Tien, she was a lot more conscious of having the baby on her abdomen. With this one, she's a lot more confident, not to the point where she's blasé, but she's certainly almost from the 2 days after the birth, she was pretty much back to normal. The first day she was quite tired, she was lying down quite a lot. The second day, a little bit tired. The third day, straight onto normal behaviour. So yeah, she's a lot more confident with this one, and she's also a lot more comfortable with it as well. The two boys, I actually started spending a lot more time together just before the birth. But since then as well, they've been spending, a lot of time playing together, almost hanging out together, because Peanut's focus is now on the new baby more than Tien. So it's quite good for Tien as well. He's now got his sort of male role model, so he's hanging out with his father quite a lot.
But although they're almost certain the new baby's a girl, the team will still wait a while before naming her, just to make sure. Next time on Monkey Life, an operation for Peanut. But will her baby stay on board?
25 breaths a minute.
Which is good.
And the boys have a bachelor party. Today on Monkey Life, an operation for injured Gibbon Peanut, but there's a baby on board.
I just need to ensure that both that mother and the infant come out of this thing okay.
Kaiyah the lemur's recovered and lets the boys know it. And playtime for the bachelor chimps, but Sammy opts for the housework. This is Monkey World in Dorset. Tucked away deep in the English countryside, it's the largest sanctuary for monkeys and apes on the planet. And this is Dr. Alison Cronin, the primate's best friend. Alison and her team spend their lives rescuing...
The sun is still beating down. He must be in the shade.
...and rehabilitating primates from all over the world. They currently look after more than 240 monkeys and apes from 16 different species. Monkey World is primarily a rescue sanctuary, but is also involved in important breeding projects, helping preserve some of the world's endangered primates. This morning, keeper Leanne has had some worrying news about golden-cheeked Gibbon Peanut, one of the lesser apes bred at the park.
A keeper went down first thing this morning and checked on Peanut and Pung Yo, and unfortunately we found that Peanut's actually got an injury. She's actually split her lip, and what has actually happened is part of the lip has actually obviously been torn, so it's actually irritating, so it's obviously hanging off, and that means that unfortunately it is a deep wound, so we will have to stitch it.
It's bad enough that Peanut has such a nasty injury, but the situation is complicated by the fact that she has a baby, recently named Tia Nang. Peanut gave birth 5 months ago, having already proved to be a marvellous mother with her firstborn, Tien. Peanut and her partner, Pung Yo, are a real success story for the park. She was rescued from the home of an exotic bird smuggler in Cambridgeshire. And he came from the Taiwanese pet trade. Since they paired up, they've been doing their bit for the European Endangered Species Breeding Programme. But Peanut will need to be anaesthetised for her lip to be repaired, a worrying procedure for a mum with a new baby. Luckily for the team, Alison is able to make a quick call to renowned wildlife vet John Lewis, who's visiting the area.
Yeah, I know you're on holiday. I know. I've got a favour to call in. You know, really, it's not a big deal to stitch up her lip, but with that infant clinging to her as well, there's issues of the anesthetic. You don't want the baby to get too drunk. We want to make sure it's gentle and nice as possible so that when she wakes up, she's still happy with her baby. Too many things to go wrong, so I'm calling in a favour from John Lewis, and of course, he's good as gold. He's always been such a tremendous help. He'll be here in an hour.
It would heal on its own if you left it, but the edges wouldn't necessarily heal in alignment. And what we do by stitching is bring the two edges of the lip in alignment, and then when it does heal, it'll look a lot better and be easy for her to use her lip as per normal. The only complication with this is that the mother does have a baby on her. Now, generally, if you anaesthetise the mothers with babies at this age, the babies will stay on the mother while you work on it. And if you pull the babies off, that's when they'll start screaming, and that noise tends to wake the mother up. So we'll just leave the baby on if it's happy.
John's decided it'll be less stressful for Peanut and Tia Nang to do the operation in a back bedroom at the Gibbon house, and not at the hospital. So Animal Director Jeremy collects and sets up all the necessary equipment. Jeremy has darted Peanut with a tranquilizer, because the Gibbons have yet to be trained to take hand injections for anaesthetic purposes.
Pulse is about 60.
It's the breathing I'm more concerned about.
With Peanut sedated and Tia Nang clinging on tight, John examines the wound.
It's a very, very vascular area. In other words, there's lots of rich blood supply there. So wounds tend to heal quickly, and sterilising the mouth is quite a problem. And of course, this goes right through into the mouth.
25 breaths a minute.
Which is good.
Later, the keepers wait anxiously for news as John delicately attempts to repair Peanut's torn lip.
That is the last stitch, actually.
There have been some changes at the Bachelor Chimps home in recent weeks, as young male Ben has been gradually integrated into the group. He's now met all the bachelors, including leader Butch, and his henchmen Jester and boisterous Buxom. As well as renewing old friendships with nursery pals Seamus and Turkish Çarli. The move has been a success. Ben settled in well with the fun-loving bachelors who've welcomed him to the fold. Butch and the boys are a fairly sociable and active lot, and the care staff enjoy coming up with ways to keep them entertained. Today, Hannah has a plan.
This morning we've got a bit of a treat for the boys. We've got a couple of jellies and ice lollies made up. I've actually got 28 litres of jelly in each tub that we've made. So, yeah, look at it wobble.
Enormous frozen fruit-laden lollies and giant jellies aren't the only surprise on offer today.
They've not had bubble bath before, so this one's just a bit of fun, really, just to see what they make of it. And it's pineapple scented, so it's baby bath, so obviously it's not going to do them any harm. And the other two is oil and water mixed with sunflower seed, because the skin gets dry because of the heating. So hopefully the sunflower seeds with the oil will encourage them to dip their hands in, and they'll get a nice coating of oil on their hands. And we've also scattered a little bit of the breakfast around just to keep everyone happy. So let's let the fun begin.
The chimps don't disappoint. Sammy starts off by showing Ben how to stir things up, and the youngster's keen to get involved. Tough guy Paco's determined to reach the fruit through the frozen ice. And bad boy Buxom gets his teeth into it. Low-ranking Gypsy investigates the oil and seeds, but backs off when the more dominant and puffed-up Paco turns up wanting the bucket to himself. On the platform, Jester is trying his first taste of jelly. Not his favourite dish, then. Former Spanish photographer's prop Sammy astonishes the keepers with unusual behaviour. His actions look like he's doing a bit of housework. Later, more laughs with the bachelors, the jelly, and even the buckets. Coming up, Kaiyah bounces back, and anxious moments for Peanut and her baby.
This is just a lot of little stitches.
To mix things up a bit and keep them entertained, the Bachelor chimps have been given buckets containing jelly, ice lollies, bubbles, and oil with seeds. And newcomer Ben is enjoying taking part, but it looks like it's every chimp for himself. Buxom thinks he's got away with a bucketful, but his technique needs a bit of work. Keen on keeping things clean, Sammy's found a new bucket, but all the floating sunflower seeds are a little irritating. There's got to be a way of dealing with them. Meanwhile, Buxom's decided giant ice lollies are a lot easier to move. Clever Sammy's finally worked out how to siphon off those annoying seeds. And Jester, well, he's quite happy with the buckets, even if they are empty.
That's Jester, and he's just having a bit of fun with his bucket. You can see he's got a really relaxed face. That's a play face. You can see a lot of them are putting the buckets on the heads. I mean, they do the same sort of thing with blankets as well. When they all have blankets, they'll pull blankets over the head.
The Bachelors have had an entertaining play day, keeping them active and their minds busy. And for Ben, it's been confirmation of his place in the group, with approval all round, including from leader Butch. Keeping the primates at the park engaged and encouraging the kind of behaviours they might display in the wild is all part of their rehabilitation. The Primate Car Staff work hard to come up with ideas that will help with the process and enrich the lives of the rescued monkeys and apes. Regular donations of toys and other recreational playthings are a real bonus. The different species of monkeys and apes will find their own way to play and investigate new objects. But the one thing they nearly all have in common is the desire to find out if there's food inside. Alison feels enrichment programs like this help address some of the behaviour issues the primates bring with them when they're rescued.
Once we get any of our rescued primates back here to the park, I always try and get all of our primate care staff to sort of turn the problem on its head, if you will. So we try and address the craziness by giving them the opportunity to exhibit normal and natural behavior. And what you find is that a lot of the time it's a lot easier to encourage the animals into activities that come naturally, whether it be foraging for food, social activity, getting them part of a group. And by encouraging them in those types of natural activities, automatically there's no time left for the crazy behavior. It fragments, and then very slowly it starts disappearing altogether so that those bouts of abnormal behavior become less frequent. And that's our goal here, is to occupy our monkeys and apes and their lives and their daily activities with as much normal behavior as possible. And when we do that, all of the craziness goes away.
Many of the monkeys and apes rescued by Alison and the team come from very traumatic backgrounds. They've suffered physical or mental abuse, or both.
Even if it's, physical abuse that they've suffered, it can often leave psychological scars. And we see a lot of that here at the park. We have every kind of neurosis and psychosis. I think that's almost listed. We've got the lots. We have had agoraphobic individuals that are frightened to even take a step outside because they've never been outside before. Come on, Paquito. Come on, sweetheart. We have individuals from laboratories that hoard food, presumably because food in their past life was restricted. We get individuals who are solitary and are frightened of other individuals, you know, or you get individuals who are simply attention-seeking and have lived with humans long enough that they know that if you clap or blow raspberries or do any kind of funny, special activity, that gets a human's attention and therefore that achieves what you want. All of them relate to the previous backgrounds that those individuals have come from.
But with constant care and support, and plenty to keep their minds and bodies active, the majority of primates go on to lead happy and fulfilled lives.
What we do is we give them the keys back to their lives again and say, right, here's a family group, here's all appropriate food, here's a more appropriate environment, and see if we can bring out all of those intrinsic innate behaviors that come natural to either a capuchin monkey or a chimpanzee. And by giving them the tools, the right environment to do so, a lot of those natural behaviors come out. Everybody's possible to rehabilitate.
Young lemur Kaiyah's at the start of her rehabilitation, but she's been separated from her group to recover from a wound to her groin, inflicted by another lemur.
What happens with this, like when they freak out, they tend to run away, and someone else might have thought she was either attacking them or panicked as well, and their first instinct is to bite.
She's had dominant female fennel to keep her company, but the injury was a setback to her integration into the main group.
We'll sort of start all over again and see how we get on, but at least she's now met all these lemurs. She knows there are other lemurs other than her and fennel in the world, and she seemed to be doing well up until now, so hopefully it's just a small setback.
Now she's better, Toby and Donna from the Primate Care team have taken her back to the enclosure at Malagasy.
She's settled down, she's got to know what an outside is, she's learnt how to use the cat flap and move in and out of the house properly, so we're hoping she's a bit more settled and that she won't freak out as much this time when the boys go in to see her.
The boys are the 8 male ringtails, usually bossed about by fennel, because female lemurs are always the dominant sex. But Kaiyah has never lived with other lemurs and doesn't know this yet. Her injury happened during the first attempted introduction, so the team have changed tactics, and this time they're going to introduce Kaiyah to the males in stages. They're using the small pens at the back of the main enclosure, where ruffed lemur Blue normally lives. It's all a bit exciting for Kaiyah, who is very vocal. But if it goes well, Kaiyah, Fennel and the boys will soon all roam free in the great outdoors.
We don't know quite how it's going to go at the moment because the public can walk through the enclosure as well, and Kaiyah's the only lemur that we've got that is human orientated, so we're just going to have to see how that goes, take it slowly, but hopefully she will be able to range in this nice enclosure.
Wildlife vet John Lewis is trying to repair a large, deep gash in Peanut's lip. But the situation is complicated because the golden-cheeked Gibbon mum cannot be separated from her baby, 5-month-old Tia Nang.
A minute.
25 breaths a minute.
Which is good. See what happens when you put babies on animals when you're working on them. They just do this, mostly. Good fresh bleeding tissue is the best tissue to heal. So I'm just going to literally scrape off the little bit of dead tissue on the surface, which has happened since it's been wounded and drying. That just, speeds up the healing a little bit more.
Keepers Colin and Marcia wait anxiously outside. They're worried because no one likes to anaesthetise a breastfeeding mum.
This is just a lot of little stitches.
We repair the underneath first, the side that's closest to the teeth, because I can get to it easily from this side and bury the stitches inside the repair. That is the last stitch, actually. And you can expect to get a reasonably accurate repair, which hopefully that is. We're going to just super glue the knots on the sutures to make certain it's more difficult for her to undo them. But no, that's it, done deal. Should we just put her on the floor? Yeah, at the moment in that position.
John and Jeremy make sure Peanut and the baby are comfortable.
We may as well just give her more oxygen, I think, now. Breathing all right? We're actually going to wake her up. We're going to reverse one of the drugs used to knock her out in the first place. The gas, she's not actually receiving any anaesthetic gas now, just oxygen. That's all pretty much gone. So when we reverse the drugs, they don't come round and they have complete control over their limbs and whatever else. They could easily stumble and fall in that sort of hazy state after anaesthesia. So if we put her up here and she stumbles, she could fall flat on the deck, not only injure herself, but obviously injure Junior as well. And if she tries to climb from here up to there, she could easily miss and crash down to the ground. So you're better off starting on the ground. And when she feels happy enough to climb up, she'll do it on her own. That'll be a bit more on the twitch then.
As Peanut begins to come round, John and Jeremy quietly leave the bedroom so she can wake up in her own time.
Hey.
Peanut is still a bit groggy, and Tia Nang still hasn't let go.
Can we radio Alison, just tell her Herbert in here is getting up? She is got up. It's been done.
It's instinct for Gibbons to go high, and the pair climb onto a shelf where staff have left a blanket.
Yeah?
Yeah, all good, Alison.
Thank you so much, Liam.
The primate care team will keep an eye on Peanut for the next few hours, but John is pleased with how the operation went.
I think the wound looks like a bite. It's a very clean bite, but that's a bite. And stitching it would heal on its own, but you get a very distorted lip. So we just speed things up and make the repair more accurate. So yes, why not? That was a good job.
Next time on Monkey Life. A designer jacket for Bruce the Capuchin.
So I've made my little dressing in advance.
And a wild bedtime for the chimps.